enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, so what can make a better me?
Welcome to, I don't think it's the penultimate, whatever the third last is. I don't know if the Latins among us created a word for that, but obviously this will be the first week of trade week. We've got next week, which will be the wrap up, and then, well, actually the draft is in December, so you've probably got 5 of these episodes completely live. So forget about that. But I'm joined as always. Welcome to the Pommy and Fazz show. It's Wednesday. It's 8:30 if you're Irish. And I'm joined by the great man himself, the man. What we like to call him here is he is the puppet master of Twitter. How are you doing, Fazz?
Oh, mate, favourite night of the week, Wednesday. Good to be here. Had a bit of fun today. A bit of fun on the old socials. And
You did?
you really know that you're going well when you can get media people who are paid an absolute fortune to start believing the shit you're spinning. So it's good to be here and happy days.
Well, I mean, that is a great, great little start into it. Let's get straight into Blues news and welcome to all the chat.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
Well, Blues news. And for those joining us, we have got the other puppet master in here as well, the wonderful Cam Dempster.
Oh, mate, praises to Cam. Praises to Cam. The match was lit and he was the kerosene, as they say. So, Cam, mate, my hat goes off to you. What a day.
Well, I mean, what we will start with is there's a few questions about it and we'll put your mind at rest. But this nearly got me fired today because the two things I'm about to show you, while you two were starting a forest fire on Twitter, I'd taken the aeroplane that puts the fire out and filled it full of kerosene myself and just gone over there. So we made this today. Looks very legit.
Here it is. Done deal.
And this was the one that my boss particularly liked as well, the crocodile done deal. Obviously, for some reason, Cam Dempster and Fazz got you all excited about Bailey Smith. So much so that I nearly got fired in a meeting because I think I had 58 messages via Twitter, Instagram asking, Pom, have you heard about Bailey Smith? So just like to put that at rest. We're not getting Bazza Lenka here. So that's good to know. And we have got some proper done deals. Here he is. Some done deals. Obviously, the legend that is Blake Acres came to Carlton for a future third pick. Probably the worst kept secret in AFL, one would presume, I would think. I think that deal has been bandied about for 6 weeks now. Chat's thoughts and Fazz, one over the line. How does that feel?
It was nice to get it done early. I spoke last week about my thoughts on Blake Acres. I just think he's a tidy footballer. Very happy in a position that we definitely need. It's effectively cost us nothing. One thing also, it's quite impressive being a Western Australian boy as well to go back home and now come back to Victoria is a pretty big deal. He's mates with Cripper, I believe, and obviously Chera, who's down. So, yeah, I'm very happy. Very happy. I think that the pleasing thing is, listening to Nick Austin speak. He said what we wanted. We went out, got what we wanted, and we put our feet up and let the amateur clubs haggle over draft picks and average players. We get our business done. That's what we do.
Spot on. I think it's I think that kind of paid Austin back. A lot of people have complained about Austin and what he was dealing with, being a very nice guy. Good day to everyone as well who's in chat. I think that paid him back because how quickly that was done suggests to me that Austin's philosophy last year, where he said about holding yourself in good stead, good accountability with other teams, will pay you back. I think this is one. I think for a third rounder, it's like you say, sweet FA. And I'm looking forward to a little bit more of this because Austin also mentioned today
Crocodile done deal.
Crocodile done deal. That all of Carlton's picks are on the table. So
yes,
that is exciting. So I thought in chat and with Fazz, let's have a little guess at what they do. So throw it out to me, chat and Fazz.
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
Well, my immediate thought would be, I think the pick 10 will stay. My immediate thought would be possibly trying to package up the 49 that we got for Liam Jones, the 260s, and possibly a pick in that we get for maybe Dow, let's say pick in the 50s or 60s, packaging those 4 picks up to try and get, in the 30s, maybe a pick 30, 31, which would give us a hand of 10, 29, 31, let's say, which I think that's pretty handy. I mean,
Mate.
He was pretty open. He said that we're looking at using three draft picks, possibly 4 or 5, and I imagine the 4th and 5th one would be to promote rookies onto the list. So the 3 draft picks, 10, 29, 31, you'd be happy with that.
I think you've nailed it, Faz. I mean, I think a lot of people. I think my gut tells me that if you're looking at the draft class this year, I think the first 30, if he can end up with 4 picks in there, potentially offloading setters, like Michael says, or looking at maybe Dow, if you can squeeze a 3rd, a 2nd. Do you know what I mean? You never know. I think that there are some very good options, particularly midfielders in the start of the 3rd round, late 2nd. There's a lot of what you would call slow burn midfielders. So that is, particularly if you look at Geelong's list building, that has been something that they have done massively well at. Large percentage of their list are 40 picks and above. And then you're straight into the territory of some players that, I reckon players like Jake Walker and stuff, players to look out for, late picks that probably have real high potential, but are guys you're going to have to lean on. So going to be very exciting, I think.
Well, this is an interesting one. The one from Bugsbell. I'll address that first. It's not a mixed message from Austin at all, because when he said all draft picks are on the table, he meant all draft picks are on the table to improve our hand. So he's only looking at trading picks for picks. So it wasn't a mixed message from Austin. He was quite very clear that we are going to the draft. The one with Tony, 10 and 29 or 19 and 17, I guess this is one for the philosophers, as they say. I'd prefer 10 and 29 personally over 17 and 19. I have seen a lot of people say, let's split pick 10 for 2 later picks. Have 2 throws at the stumps. When has that really worked for us? I'll be honest. It hasn't worked for us. And I don't think it works that often. I think you've just got to take that 10, get the 10th best player. Don't really fuck around with 17 and 19. That's my opinion. But I'm sure it's up for debate, depending on how even the draft board is. But yeah, look, there's every chance you can go from 10 up, but I'm really keen on making sure it's 10, 29, 31. The reason I say that is because I don't want to get stuck in a situation where it's 8 and then 45, 50. Do you know what I mean? You want that glut of a 1st and 2 seconds. If you can't, do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's just my opinion, but I like the idea of a pick in the top 10, a pick in the 20s, and a pick in the 30s. I think it's a good balance.
I think for me, when I look at this draft class, I think your dad has nailed it here. I've been quite hot on Bailey Humphrey for a long time now. Now, I would be looking at the Gold Coast selection with Adelaide, because I guarantee you now, if Adelaide go into the draft with pick 5, which will become pick 6 when the bid's matched for Will Ashcroft, guarantee if the draft is tomorrow, Mateus Philippou goes there without a shadow of a doubt, which then suddenly for Carlton, Cam McKenzie is a Hawthorn footballer. That's guaranteed. Jai Clark will go to Geelong. Yep. That suddenly opens up the Bailey Smith draft slide. I think if Gold Coast lose Rankine though, and pick 6 is on the table, pick 5, They'll take Bailey Humphrey without a shadow of a doubt. And I have it on very good authority that they are sniffing around him for a potential replacement because Sheasel will definitely be gone by that stage. So that would say to me that I don't mind if it was honestly me, I would try and get a pick where I think is a really key position here is 15. So I would maybe bundle up Carlton's second pick with a future second and try and just slip back into that. Because in argument's sake, if Carlton had 3 picks in 25, if you just say went 10th, 15th and 20, what that would get you is potentially you would cover all lines.
Yeah, no, I'm with you in that regard. I mean, and there's also the option, which, you know, however people feel about it, of next year's first as well. I mean, you're always an option of if you really want to get high in that first round, you can trade next year's first. I think Pommy's frozen. I don't know what's going on there. All right, well, I don't know what's happened to Pommy. He's obviously dropped off, but we'll keep going here until he comes back. Oh, he could, mate. You leave me high and dry. I'm thinking, geez, everyone will leave if you don't come back.
Yeah, as I was saying, so if Carlton could try and get a 10, 15, 20 pick, that would cover 3 philosophies because you'd say they need a key forward in the backup for a key forward. So Matthew Jefferson would be right in them later end picks, Isaac Keeler, Henry Husway, Elijah Hewitt, if they wanted some kind of guy that they can build into the midfield and the high half forward. And Ollie Hollands, Bailey Humphrey are around them picks as well. So for me, I think that's probably what Austin's thinking of.
He's gone again. So I guess in the chat whilst we wait, would people be keen to see next year's first?
What's going on with the internet?
I don't know, mate. You're slowing down a bit. But we're just talking about possibly, would you be interested in next year's first to try and get in the higher up in the top?
Yeah, sorry. There's something going on with Telstra internet over here, so it keeps switching onto the Wi-Fi 4G. So hopefully you keep me now. Can you hear me, Fazz?
Yeah, I can definitely. I've got you.
There we are. Good. So that's what I predict will happen. If they can do that, Telstra evidently taking me onto 4G. So just be wary of that. We're now stuck on Wi-Fi. The other bit of news as well I wanted to touch on was Vossi's comments. Get busy, getting better. A real bullish statement in the BNF this week just gone. What was everyone's thoughts on that?
My immediate thought that there was a line that he said before saying "get busy, getting better," where he mentioned, and I'm not sure if people thought it was a throwaway line. I thought it was very specific, where he said, "Don't miss that recovery session. Get to that extra training." And I'm wondering if that was a direct swipe or a direct thing. Were there players who were missing recovery sessions, who weren't getting to training, whatever it was? I agree, Ames. I think it was a little bit of a warning to players saying, okay, we won't talk about the delistings anymore, but look at some of the players who possibly might have been delisted. Maybe they weren't the best trainers. Maybe they weren't the most durable players. Who knows? But to me, the busy getting better or get busy getting better, I think it was a clear message of intent.
I think it was. And I think one of the ones that really struck me from the night as well was particularly Vossi. I felt like that was the first time since he came here that maybe the shackles of Carlton media were released off him. And one of the things that really excited me as well, there was an element of a different vibe from Sayers as well. It felt a lot more Carlton nuffy than Carlton professional leadership. And there was a comment that he made, I thought, just towards the end of the his speech, which really stood out. And let me just drag it up here because I did write it all down. But he went on to thank all the winners, but then he talked on the global landscape of Carlton Football Club. And I thought he gave us some really telling sound bites when he said this. Let me just cycle through it because he did waffle on. Where is it? Damien Barrett's bit. There we are. Luke Sayers. Congratulations to the winners. Progress has been made the last 12 months, but satisfaction is definitely not here. Everyone with our club understands from inside and out where we want to get to, but no one is going to hand us to it in this industry. We must go out there and take it. The only way this club will ever return to success is by striving, by remaining united, staying committed, and understanding our shared responsibilities inside and out to be relentless and humble in our pursuit of sustained excellence. Now, I've listened to a lot of crap that Carlton fans, that Carlton coaches, that Carlton media teams, dignitaries release from the club. That, to me, was the first time anyone of power has said something to me that's made me stand up and take notice and go, what you've said there is right. Because Libbojrjr used to talk about earning respect. Bolton and Teague both were massive about we have to get respect back. You don't ever earn respect when respect is lost. The only way that you get your respect back is you fucking go in there and take it. You take it. And I love that. That is what we have to do. Them fighting words from Vossi and old Sayers, they warm the cockles of my heart. I was ready to, get my armour on, get the tartan kilt, get my big white horse, and go straight into Tullamarine and slay someone. I was ready, mate.
I'm with you, and I think it goes towards a lot of those people with the, who are against the Stocker delisting and who are against Dow not getting enough opportunities and so on. If you're not going to improve or get better under Michael Voss or under what we've got, then you're probably not going to make it at the AFL level. I think if Michael Voss and our coaches and the new regime can't improve you or get you up and about, I mean, the likes of Paddy Dow, for example, you've had 3 coaches, right? 3 different coaching boards. Like, if Voss isn't going to be the one to improve it, then you're probably not going to make it at that club. So I think, for all the people who were, angry at selection or angry at delistings and all that, you just have to listen to Michael Voss, and there's a set of standards. And unfortunately, if you don't meet those standards, you won't be on the list. And I think that, and I'm going to make a bold call here. In fact, it's going to be a big call. I don't think this year, but end of next year, this time next year, I think we'll be talking about another heartbreak as far as a player being delisted that we didn't expect. There you go.
Mate, I agree with you. And I think the big thing is, and I agree with Oliver, you can't keep sacking coaches.
No,
but
I'm with you.
I will say this. In the situation this club's got, it is the best the list has ever looked. It's the best leadership group we've got. It's probably the strongest administration we've had in the terms of Sayers has been very quiet which I've enjoyed, and he's let the people that understand what they're doing do the talking. I have enjoyed the fact that he hasn't fielded many questions. I like that in the terms of now Cook seems to be the guy they wheel out when they need to talk about football administration. They don't bring out an administrative manager. I think that when I hear the club speak now, there's just an element of trust emerging from me where I totally believe that they're in the right way. And when I hear Voss speak, I think it's no surprise that Voss has been the mentor of the last two Brownlow medalists who have massively improved as well. And I remember saying it last year when we had Voss. The big thing about Ollie Wines was the year before he won the Brownlow, they were on about getting rid of him. And that was all the papers. He was evidently on his last legs. And there's a great Ollie Wines interview he does for his sponsors where he talks about Vossi pulled him to one side and said, stop trying to be like everyone else, be the best Ollie Wines. And Ollie Wines does X, Y, Z, and that's what Ollie Wines needs to refine. Ollie Wines doesn't need to refine the stuff that makes him the other players. And I think you see Ollie Wines now, he looks lost. Where you see Cripper, especially them, I thought how Cripper adapted when the midfield players got injured showed you what a true leader Cripper is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you with the Ollie Wines comparison. I mentioned that, was it last week or something, that it's a really big one that I think is not getting enough spoken about enough, and I think that Cripps got back to what he did best. You saw Teague talk about, we want Cripps to lose weight, we want him to be faster, we want him to do this. Well, that's not who he is. So I think that's really important. But the other thing that excites me, we look at the list and we say, why is this rebuild taken so long, and why is this? And one little throwaway, maybe it's a throwaway comment that I heard from Austin when speaking about Blake Acres, and his exact words were, he's 26, that fits in with our age profile. And people just moved on and just heard that line. When I hear that line, what I hear is all of our core group of players are at that 28 to 20 to 26 mark. They are going to come up together. They are going to win this premiership together. It's, when all these guys got drafted, your Wiederings and Curnows, Mackay, Walsh and all that, they came in, there was the list was so unbalanced. You had 30-year-old players and you had 18-year-olds coming in. There was nothing in the middle. There was no star players in that core bracket. Now every single one of our star players is in that core age bracket, which says to me, I mean, people won't like hearing this, but it says to me that possibly not next year, but in 2 years' time is probably when our window really blows open and we absolutely bang on that door for. We could win the flag next year, of course we could, but I genuinely believe in that 2 years' time when that core group is 30 to 28 rather than 28 to 26, I generally believe that window is going to absolutely blow open, and we're not just going to win one flag; it'll be flag for flag for flag, and I think that getting that core group together, ensuring Voss keeps that core group together, which we've done with the contracts.
I think the big thing for me is on contracts was what Harry Mackay said. And Harry Mackay said, and his quotes were pretty telling for me. And it was always Carlton. There was no one else. I love my time here and was never thinking about going anywhere else. In the previous 7 years, there's been a lot of ups and downs and instability across the whole club. The list, the key roles, and the major players. You can't be promised anything in this sport, but some of the stuff we've done over the last 12 months sets us up for the next 8 to 9 years. The environment that's been created, stability in the key roles, is a no-brainer for me, right? And then I think if you mirror that up with Voss mentioned about it's not about being good in one moment, it's being good in multiple moments. And then you hear Sayers talk about sustainable success. And then I want to touch on something that I think is missed a lot by people. In 2018, in Carlton's trade period, there was a great little thing. And if you just remember it, there was a few ridiculous trades banded out about Carlton at the time. Just at the back end of the 2018 year, Walsh was the number one for that 2019 draft. There was all that rubbish of Carlton trading it out, getting players like Adelaide's fringe players, Tom Bug, things like that. But there was an interesting thing from Sauce, and Sauce did an interview on SEN, and it was a wonderful little thing where he said anyone can build a finals winning list. It's about winning flags is how this is judged and graded. And he said that this list is lacking 4 to 5 mid-age players that can give us an opportunity to build the young draftees up, but also put pressure on the old guard. Now, that year, Carlton didn't do that. Carlton did the entire opposite of that. But it's interesting when since Vossi's been there, particularly Austin, they have looked at really cementing that thing. And it was interesting what he said. I thought Austin, and no one's picked up on it. We've hit the trades quite hard in the last 2 years. Now it's the time to replenish our list. Now, the best list replenishers in the world are Geelong, a team that has statistically, and I did the research, you'll see it a bit later, in the last 12 years, stayed the same average age. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal work. Once they reach that plateau, it has stayed the right age. And that's what I think Nick Austin's building. He's looking at, let's do that. Let's right the wrongs of the past. And I think what Harry said really turned me on. The ups and downs. If they think like that, that is only going to galvanize them and make them an incredibly hard team to beat because they have been through the shit. Now let's enjoy the happy times together.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to steal your thunder for a bit later, but there is something to be said. Pretty much every premiership winning team or even drought, we'll say the drought premiers, whether it's Richmond and Geelong of 07, Melbourne, the Doggies, all those drought breaking premierships, they've had the same core together from the day they were drafted to the day they lift that cup. And we're no different. And I think that's what you've got to look at. Every single core, you can talk about big name trades, you can talk about this. You win premierships through the draft. It's as simple as that. You win premierships. When we win our premiership, we're not going to be talking about George Hewitt or Cherry. Yes, they'll be great, but we're going to be talking about, hey, remember 2015? Wiedering, Harry, Charlie, then Walsh in 20. That's what we're going to talk about. That draft there was the Hawthorn draft of, Buddy, Ruffy, and Lewis, I believe. That's what we'll talk about. And I think keeping that core group together, I mean, we'll get to it later because it comes up in all our things, but I could not believe that I saw one single negative comment about Harry Mackay signing the contract. I'm not going to go into it because we'll get to it, but that's a little teaser for what's coming. But keeping that core group together was so important. And I don't care if we paid over over market value, which we didn't, but I don't care what we did. We had to keep that group together. They were the most important pieces of that puzzle.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And you actually, I'm going to finish our Carlton bit before we go and mock some other teams because we're in a position now to mock other teams because they're paying silly buggers. But if you actually look at what Carlton have achieved in list management, and this is very similar to some of the wonderful things Geelong have done. You look now at Carlton's major players, they have got over half of their starting 22 locked away. 2025, Adam Chera, Sarge, Hewitt, Wiedering, Kennedy, Fisher are contracted to. 26, Walsh and Zach Williams. 27, Patrick Cripps. Okay. Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay are 2029 and 2030. So that is locked away. That is locked away. And that is something that Carlton don't have to worry about. And what no one is talking about, and the media aren't doing it. And thank Christ the Collingwood list manager came out and mentioned it yesterday, right, when he signed McStay to a 5-year deal, is that the way that the player payments work, and Austin touched on it, but he was smart. He was like, our player payment strategy is built for 5 years. And he was like, and the Harry deal fell well under it. They were the words he used, well under our PPI projections. Now, Graham Wright said by year 2-3, this will be revised and it will be an offset, which basically means that if it's 20%, 5% increase, that's only what, 20%, 15% of his cap. That is what he was on about. So what they're saying there is that 7 years might be, say, 10% of Carlton's contract today. If you look at how the rest of the AFL has worked historically, gets less and less and less and less and less.
Yeah. Correct. I couldn't agree more with what you've just said. And I think the longer term deals, the money gets spread. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but just in response to James McCartney, I think you might have misheard. What I'm saying is every dynasty or drought breaking premiership was won through the draft. Yes, Geelong didn't win this premiership this year because of the draft, but they won it in 2007 because of the draft. That's all. That's what I was saying. But yeah, with the money. I mean, you've said it many times. It is almost impossible. In fact, it is impossible to go over your salary cap. There are systems in place to stop you going over your salary cap. And I'll say this once and once only until we move on. The AFL sign off on every single contract to every single player. They're not going to let a club go over the salary cap. It just doesn't happen. So don't stress. Let's move on.
I do play golf with a list manager in the AFL, and I can confirm that they actually get a yellow email where it actually specifies that their predicted PPI payments are over what is expected, and they have a time frame to adjust it. And you do, since he told me this in 2019, and he says you'll know when it happens because randomly players will be re-signed in contract and it'll be public knowledge. And he was like, also, Sydney's a good example, silent extensions that just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, that is their thing. So, like, literally, he said he calls it, he used to take the piss, say it's the Carlton rule. Now it's so well monitored that literally to go over the cap, you would have to be the biggest dickhead in the world. You have to. But that being said, let's have a look at what the rest of the AFL are doing because we've finished our business. We can have a moi. Let's have a look.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really.
We're not going to go through all the trades because there's some in the AFL where they just trade for the sake of it. It's like, when you were 13 years old and the auntie you don't see anymore who smells a little bit like fish gives you £100 and you go straight down and you spunk that money on fruit machines and brasses. Let's have a look though. Obviously, the first deal we will talk about, Lederman to Hawthorn, paid double in salary for what Carlton did for Blake Acres. But does present a good bit of business because I think that cheeky 27 pick may allow Port Adelaide to maybe have a sniff at some of the players that are starting to slip down the draft order. The lawyer would be one of them.
Yeah, look, I mean, Amon to Hawthorn makes sense. They need to fill cap space. He's an experienced player. What is he? 26. So their plan would be that he will still be there when they start rising up the ladder. I think it's a good bit of business from Hawthorn. I think it's good from Port Adelaide. I see nothing wrong with it. It's people will say, yeah, he's getting paid triple or whatever, double, whatever it is to what Blake Acres is getting paying. Hawthorn probably have triple or double the space in their salary cap to what Carlton have, and they need to meet that certain percentage. So I like it.
Mate, I am completely with you, and I think it's just it's very smart, very smart business for both sides. That's one of them ones where I don't like the comp pick, and we'll come on to that later, but that's a very bit smart business. Bobby Hill went for a shuffle of picks, which basically worked out to be a second rounder. Everyone in the chat, overs or unders, right? Just we'll say it. What do you think of the Cats deal there? It worked out to be in real time a second rounder. Overs or unders for Bobby Hill? We know he's had, obviously, testicular cancer. He was out for most of the year. Very talented footballer, just under a goal a game. You would say they need a small forward. I look at them and think they do need an attacking small forward, particularly to replace Jamie Elliott as he cracks on a bit. Good deal or bad deal?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's slightly overs. But I'm also in the school of thought. I know it equals a second round pick, but I'm in the school of thought of 75 fourth round picks probably equal pick one. But I'd still take pick one over the gluttony of fourth round picks. I still think it's a good deal for Collingwood. He's a good little player. We don't see much of him, I guess, unless you go out of your way to watch GWS, but I like him. I think he's a good player. I think he'll fit in well with Collingwood. The way they play, the way Collingwood play, he will just complement what they've got.
I agree with you, and I think playing him off Bo McQuarrie with Ginnivan, I think it's a very, very good, smart bit of business for them.
I
So
like it.
I don't mind it, to be honest. I mean, I do think they've maybe paid a bit overs, but that being said, I think that they have they've won. They've won that deal.
Of course, they got a player in. It's always a win.
I think it will win. The next one was Tim Taranto. Now, everyone in chat, overs or unders. This worked out to be a 12 and 19.
12 and 19. Yeah. Again, I guess this probably adds on to what I was saying before. In regards to many picks equaling something. To me, 12 and 19. What does that equate to? What, pick 6 or something? I don't know. To me, I don't think Taranto's worth pick 6, but I think he's worth pick 12 and 19. So do you know what I mean? Like, it's quite confusing. So I'll use Adam Chera as the example. Everyone complained when we picked up Adam Chera for the pick 6 or 7 or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. But no one would have complained if they gave up pick 12 and 19. There's something about picks in the teens that are, for whatever reason, rated far less than a high pick. I still think it's overs. But again, it's a bloody good deal for Richmond. It's a bloody good deal for Richmond.
Mate, I agree with you. I think that works out for them. I think when I look at what they could have picked with them guys, I actually looked at that and I thought maybe that's unders, But I actually think that's probably the fairest trade I have actually seen them make. I actually think it's like a nothing trade.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I think we've got to look at it when trying to decide whether, and you can go all the way back to the Sard deal, and still people say Carlton gave up too much for Sard or whatever, but you got to look at it for what Richmond need. I mean, they're not going to miss pick 12 and 19, are they? They're not. Of course they're not. They've got some good young kids coming through. They're gonna go. If we were in Richmond's position of coming off 3 flags and knowing all our superstars are about to retire, and you got one more throw at the stumps, why wouldn't you? The only preface I've got, to me, it smells a little bit like when Hawthorn picked up Tom Mitchell and Chad Wingard. Seems to be that one last throw at the stumps. Let's try and get the premiership. If they don't win the premiership, then they're kind of going to be stuck with these 2 26-year-olds on big money as they probably have to start a rebuild. But, hey, fair credit to them. There is no reason for me to criticise the Richmond Football Club. Everything they do turns to gold. So Taranto, Hopper, if he comes in, brilliant bit of business.
Mate, and the other one there's 2 that I talked about. Manny, my good friend, is in chat, so we'll talk a bit about him. McStay signed on a free 35 compensation, 5-year deal. Definitely what they wanted. McStay, though, for me, you see, I look at this and I look at how he plays. I watch a lot of Brisbane because they're one of them teams that I never know how I feel about Brisbane. So I always watch them and I'm like, I want to feel something.
Yeah, well, you know what I think of Brisbane.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I can't feel anything. Do you know what I mean? I can't feel anything. But I don't mind it because I think Mihocek needs a target. And I think Mihocek looks a lot better when Ollie Henry and Ashley Johnson were working alongside him. And they look like they're going to lose Ollie Henry. It has to be said. But I just think that third toe really sliding in there, another target. I think Mihocek is incredibly skillful at working high up the ground. And I think that kind of helps him out. Because I think that's sometimes where it falls off when you watch Collingwood. So I didn't mind it. I'll preference this, though. It shit me that Kane Corn specifically said, good bit of business. And I'm like, we paid 2 years more for a guy that you voted as the 4th best fucking valuable player in the comp. Let that sink in.
Don't steal my thunder, Pommy.
Mate, his exact words, Kane Corn's exact words about Harry McKay. Just get this. To win a flag nowadays, you must have tall stocks. Harry McKay on the open market would be one of the most valuable players because he has backed it up and had a quiet year this year, but still managed to average well over a goal a game. And then 2 weeks later goes, nah, you don't fucking pay that for him. Even though he's the 4th most valuable player in the comp.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And that's a little sneak preview to what's coming. With with McStay, I think McStay is actually a little bit underrated, to be honest. I've seen a lot of comments on social media, and I actually, for a third tall, for that link man, I think he's perfect for Collingwood. Again, far be it from me to praise something Collingwood's done, but I think it's perfect for Collingwood. The absolute perfect player. Anyone who says that he is coming in to be the key forward, the number one target, have not been paying attention. They're not listening. He is not going in there to do that. He's going in there to be that link man, the guy, exactly the same role he does at Brisbane. Collingwood will still roll with the same game plan of Maya Check as their key forward, and they'll rely on their tools, a la Richmond Football Club when they won their premierships. And McStay will be that relief ruck. He'll be marking on the wing. He might even go back a little bit. He's a very, very, very good pickup for Collingwood. A very good pickup.
Hey, mate,
I think he'll surprise. All these people who are slagging off Collingwood. He'll shock you all next year because I think he's a very, very astute pickup. I think he's better than Joe Daniher, to be honest.
Mate, I wouldn't go that. I don't think he's as damaging, but I think for what they need, I would say he's exactly what they need.
Oh.
Like I'd say he's not going to win them games off his own boot, but I think he will allow other players to win the game off their boot. But
McStay is the Blake Acres for us. It's not a sexy big name, but it's exactly what they need. Carlton fans are absolutely frothing the fact that we got Blake Acres, yet slagging off Collingwood for getting McStay. It's the exact same bit of business for a team that needs that role. I mean, it's not that hard to work out.
No, mate, I agree with you. I think it's a perfect acquisition. I think what it opens up is fantastic. A bit like Blake Acres, like you say, for us. The one, though, that I actually think is, in my opinion, the trade of the round was North Melbourne getting Griffin Logue, Darcy Tucker, and a future third for a future second, third, and a fourth. I really enjoyed this deal because I think that they got a lot of commodity for what they want. If you look at what North has got, they need a lot of depth. I think they've got two very serviceable footballers and not really lost anything because you'd imagine with the comp picks to come as well from the AFL, they're getting that special relief. That's kind of offset it. So theoretically, they've actually got exactly the same in draft capital.
Yeah, I think that's a great deal. It's a very standard team in a rebuild type deal. You're getting these players and they're probably going to have put them on big money, which is how you get them obviously across. But then they're in that perfect age bracket. I mentioned just before when Carlton started their rebuild and all these young players came in, we had no players in that 25 to 27-year-old age bracket. North Melbourne is starting to bring them in. It's only going to enhance their rebuild. Will they be a part of their premiership when they go forward? Who knows? But they are very, very solid pickups for them. And I think that's all you can hope for. As a North Melbourne fan, that's all you can want.
I agree with Caleb Blessing. I mean, tell you what, they're more welcoming, aren't they, than a barmaid after 6 months at Port. Do you know what I mean?
Bizarre.
Spot on, mate. I agree. And then we get on to the tasty bits now. That is the AFL wrap. There's nothing else really worth talking about. The rest of the trades are just posh white guys waving it for a bit. Let's have a look at what Fazz has got for us.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything.
What you got for me, Fazz?
Well, I said it was coming. You started it a bit. Those of you who listen to a bit of Trade Radio would have heard me call up and had a go at Sauce, the great Sauce. I went in. To me, every single day, every single segment, every single person on Trade Radio keeps saying, "What does this team need? They need a key forward. What does this team need? Oh, they need a key forward." Every team they've spoken about, the need is a key forward. The morning of, you said it before, Kane Corns did a list of most valuable players in the competition. Charlie Curnow, number 1, Max King, number 2, was it De Koning number 3, whoever was Harry McKay number 4. Anyway, littered with
Sam De Koning third, yeah.
Yeah, littered with key forwards, and obviously Sam De Koning. That morning that Harry McKay signed his deal, you said it before, Kane Corns did which teams need a key forward the most? I'm telling you which teams need a key forward the most. There are 15 teams in the competition who need a key forward the most. Yet we sign one up, a great one, a young one, and we get fucking battered around left, right, and centre about, well, geez, bit of a mistake signing Harry McKay to 7 years. I mean, what are they doing? You add to the McStay, great bit of business by McStay, but what the hell are Carlton doing signing Harry? I don't personally like long-term contracts only for key forwards. I think key forwards, it's the number one commodity in the AFL is a key forward. Collingwood, if Harry McKay was at Collingwood, they win the flag this year. If Harry McKay was at Sydney, they get damn closer to what Geelong bloody got. If Harry McKay was at Melbourne, they win the flag this year. People who are criticising this have no idea or refuse to acknowledge how important key forwards are to this game. And we've got 2 of them, and then everyone else can get fucked because we've got 2 of them now for the next 7 years.
You know what? I agree as well. And I agree with some of the comments here. The gorgeous Steph has been an absolute prick on Trade Radio. The Dem Dog, he thinks he's been bad. Caleb, it'll be on there somewhere. I agree. I actually, the 2 ironies I find about what you say and what Sauce has been saying. Can you name me any other cunt who would sign pricks on 4 or 5 year deals like Sauce would?
Mate,
and he's complaining about long-term contracts.
Look, I love Steve Silvani, the player, right? But he came out and said, and I quote, "I'm really concerned about the amount of players on long-term deals at Carlton." Mate, you were the fucking one who put half these fuckers on long-term deals. Now you're coming and saying and they were shit players, mate. And I'll quote Matt Rendell. There's still some crabs at Carlton. Thanks, Sauce. There's still crabs there because of you, mate. And I'm telling you right now, at least Nick Austin has the goal to put good players on long-term contract. Good players. All right. It is ridiculous. Steven Silvani, mate. I know you got to do it for try and get people listening, and you got me sucked in. But I tell you what, the thing I pulled him up on, and I had to go at him because he kept saying, what if Tom De Koning comes good? What if Tom De Koning comes good? How are Carlton going to pay him? And I pulled him, stop dealing in hypotheticals. What if Tom De Koning's a bust? Who cares? Right? One thing we do know, we deal in facts. And the fact is Harry McKay is 24 years old. He's a common medalist and he's one of the best forwards in the competition. Don't give me fucking, what if Tom De Koning comes good? What if Jesse Motlop comes good and needs a contract? What if this? What is that? Fucking hell, man. Deal with what you know. And the fact is we've got 2 of the best, if not the best forwards in the competition. We've got them for 7 years.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And I'll say this, I'm a big fan of Sauce, right? Do you know what I mean? I love him after all he's done for the club. But my big thing with Sauce is he was the biggest exponent of complaining about the media and how they used to drive up. Mate. I remember him doing a thing saying that with Canelio, it was driven up. The value was driven up by the media. And now he is actively, like he was complaining about the Akers deal, saying it should have been more. And I'm like, he was complaining he had to pay for Jack Martin.
Yeah, mate, I'm telling you, look, far be it from me to bury a club legend, but I'll tell you right now, he's got a new name. He's called Sellout Sauce because he's a fucking sellout. He's a fucking sellout, mate. Trade Radio just reversed their truck and beep, 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 big pile of cash out his front door. Come on, mate, you're a fucking sellout, mate.
Well, there it is. We usually bury a town on Fazz's segment. He's now buried a club legend, so that's good. Well, this is my time to shine.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top.
I have 2 ponders. One's just really quick. Someone on my Twitter today got in a massive argument saying Carlton fucked, is a Carlton fan, and said that Nick Austin needs to listen to Matt Rendell because he knows everything about list management and players. And honestly, if you're watching this, I think I've forgotten more than Matt Rendell knows. But anyway, my actual rant is this. So my Ponder, I was listening today and I was listening to a little segment on the radio, and they were talking about what Essendon need to do, North, and they were really drumming home the importance of ascertaining Premiership players, Premiership winning experience, and they were going in on this. They were going in on how it's so important that you've got to get them in to bring in your players, bring in everything, and you've got to bring it in from the external club. And I was like, right, let's have a look. Let's have a look if that's true. So what I've got here for you to have a little wee gander at, my lovelies, is what this is here this is a list of, since 2010, of how many Premiership players these teams have recruited in. So it's external. It's Premiership players they've traded or brought in on free agency. As you can see, not many. Adelaide 1, no Premierships. Brisbane 7, no Premierships. Carlton 2, no Premierships. Collingwood 5 have been recruited since 2010. 1 Premiership win. 6 for Essendon, 0. Fremantle 3-0. GWS a staggering 8-0. Geelong 2 flags. Gold Coast 6. Hawthorn none, 3 flags. Melbourne 5, 1 flag. North Melbourne none. Port Adelaide 3, no flags. Richmond none, 3. Seems to be a recurring theme. 5 for St Kilda. My wife's still depressed. Sydney 3, 1 flag. 4 for Doggies and 1 flag each. So you actually find as well, I went a little bit further back. I haven't completed the research, but it actually seems that genuinely the teams that create sustained dynasties go that method to build their original list. And then there is some historical data, particularly around the late 90s, noughties, of teams recycling players. So another interesting stat I wanted to throw out is this common myth, right? This common myth. And Matt Randall had this about Geelong's list management, how they acquire stars. And I was like, is that true? A staggering 29 members of the Geelong list are from picks 40 over, where the statistical probability of a player playing 50 games is around 9%. Of them, only 5 of them players have been acquired from elsewhere. 6, if you count Tyson Stengel, but I'm not counting him. Adelaide ripped him off. That is an incredible proof there that their top lists are built, and they're also sustained through that. And exactly what Tony says here, and this is what I'm enjoying about legends like when you look at it, legends like Nick Austin, they are starting to get people. So Jordan Boyd would be a great example. There was about 7 people on the draft board in the mid-year draft that Cal Toomey and even myself favoured, but he went for that back pocket, a weak position. So a really, really interesting little bit of gambit that I'm sick of the media trying to take what Geelong do personally and making it a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? A bad thing. But then they see what Carlton are doing and they're like, now Carlton have fucked it. They need to go out and buy 6 Premiership players, get Gunston in, get Bruce in, get Tom Mitchell in. When the evidence is clear that, yes, it changes when they win a flag, because obviously Richmond had 22. Do you know what I mean? 22 players after the final played a granny. But statistically speaking, you build it from good culture. And to reiterate what Sayers, Voss, and Mackay said, togetherness and riding the ups and downs.
I'm with you. I think the narrative about getting Premiership player, I mean, you've proven it. I think it's just about getting the right players in to complement what you've recruited. And I said it before, all the Premiership drought breaking has been won by the draft, and building sustained success has been won by the draft. You can't build sustained success by continuing to recruit players. And the fact that Nick Austin has come out and said we've had 3 draft picks in 2 years. It's time for us to hit the draft because we need to build. You just can't keep topping up. You know which teams keep topping up. St Kilda. They're the teams that keep topping up. I mean, they've just done it again. Zane Cordy. What's the purpose? You need to kind of take a step back and go and move on from there.
Mate, spot on. So that is my little bit of research there. I'm sick of the media coming up with just stop. Just let list managers and just report the facts. It does feel like Premiership players come in. Because I heard them mention, oh, look at what Isaac Smith has done to Geelong. How many minor Premierships have they won without him? Quite a few. Has he been the massive change in them? Not really. They know what they're doing. It's more their bit part players that make their squad so insane. But let's go on to the Cont opinion. Big Fazz.
I think I've already
made
my controversial opinion calling Sauce a sellout, but I think what people need to understand is you need to separate the player and the champion from his off-field performances. All right, that's all I'm saying. Great player, shit bloke. That's as simple as that. Like, I don't care what anyone Anyway, we move on. So my controversial opinion, and it's probably not an original thought because I can't remember who's spoken about it before. I've heard someone speak about it before, but I believe that the best players in the competition, not just the competition, the best players on the list, each club are underpaid. I think the best players in the competition are underpaid. And I'll give you an example. Back in the 90s, there were blokes on $1 million a year in the 90s. We know that for a fact. How has that not gone up? How is that still in 2022 when a player's on $1 million? Oh, it's a shock. Okay. So I think the best players in the comp are underpaid. All right. Each club should have their stars on 1.5 to 2 million, right? That's what I think. Their stars should be on 1.5 to 2 million. What I'm saying, the mid-range players are overpaid. Right, the mid-range players are overpaid. So you're talking. We see these third years players that when they get past their first contract and they go to their third year, they jump to $400,000-$500,000 a year. That's too much. That's too much for those mid-range players. And you see, if you saw a team's list, you've got a big glut of these players on 350 to 550. It's too much for that 15th to 25th player on your list. It's not going to change overnight because you can't just change your whole structure, but I still stand by. In the 90s, the highest paid players were on $1 million. Why is it still that case now? I think they've got to keep up with if they want to be a big sport, they've got to keep up. The superstars need to be on big money, one club players, put them on those big contracts.
Mate, no, I agree. I do think as well, like what you're saying there as well, some of the mid-range players as well, they do seem to get that big salary, don't they? It seems to be a big thing as well. And the narrative is pushed because I want to use, and I'd love chat's thoughts. When I look at Blake Acres, I don't think 350k is unders. I would say with the salary cap, I'd be looking at, it's just over 10 million current. I think it's 10.8 from memory. I would say that you probably want 10 Blake Acres level players on your list who are just above AFL average, maybe could go a bit higher. You'd be wanting to pay them 350, 400k max, because that's 4 million. That's almost that's a third of your salary cap just eaten up. So yeah. I'd like that. I see what you're saying, Fazz.
Yeah, and look, and obviously people, the immediate counter argument to what I'm saying, where people say, oh, look at Geelong, they kept their stars underpaid to win a premiership, and that's fine. I'm saying it's across the competition. I'm saying if the competition wants to be taken seriously, these players need to be what's the word? Put on there as superstars. Superstars get superstar money.
No, mate, I agree with you. And my Cont opinion is very similar. What I would like to see is, because I think, and I'm sure the Carlton fans in chat, particularly some of the hardcore ones, I know you, Gav, and I know Lana, I've seen you guys have these massive debates with opposition fans. I think it's time now that we started to slide in line with the NFL and the NBA and the MLS, where their salary details and their contract details are no longer hidden and are actually public forum. Now, what I mean is the NFL do this really clever. And what they do is they release every year, the actual salary cap figure. So they will say 32 players on the senior list, 8 players on the rookie list, 2 players on whatever, total player payments, 9.8 million. Right? Do you know what I mean? And that's what they do. So you don't have to be able to check it and go, oh, Patrick Cripps, 1.2 million. There's still a bit of an anonymous about it. My issue is, though, is look at some of the figures reported, right? They like even small ones. I've seen everything from 300 to 425 for Blake Acres. I've seen everything from McStay, 350 to 600. I've seen today Tom Mitchell's salary is 1,800,000, 600, 550. And there's way too much conjecture. And I think sometimes, and I'd love Chat's opinion and yours, people take what the media say as the salary cap and go, oh, that's fact. That's fact. Cripper's on 2 million. Do you know what I mean? But I think probably isn't the truth. And I have actually spoken to some players who have shown me disgust at what's reported in the media and said, nowhere near that. Nowhere, like that figure is gratuitously out of sync. So I would love them. If they put that in black and white, we could all log in now, afllist.com.au, click it and go, Carlton, as of 2022, Carlton spent 0.8 million in the salary cap. And then it's all clear. And because at the moment, Geelong are getting it, Collingwood are getting it, Carlton are getting it. How do you afford these players? Put it on there and we can stop the speculation.
I'm with you. And for me, the biggest standout and the biggest obvious one to that is when they have the conversations. I mean, there was literally one today. In order to make their argument sound, they say, oh, well, let's just say he's on 800 and then blah, 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 blah. Or let's just say the cap is this and then it rises by 10%. It's just like you're just dealing in hypotheticals. And the media don't know. They act like they know. And I think regardless of who they are, most of the people in there, they're just, you know, I've got zero respect for 99% of the people in media. Absolute zero respect for them. I don't care what they've done in their past. I've got zero respect because they just spout shit. 24/7 shit.
Mate, I agree. I mean, I always think it's really damaging as well because I did see some. I'll have to go back and look at it. Someone sent me an article today, but it was about Carlton's salary cap, and they alluded, if you actually read it, right, it was alluded to be that Cripper didn't take a pay cut. So, you know, after Carlton mentioned it, they alluded in their article, nah, he's on 1 million. And I'm like, okay, but the club has confirmed he's not. Cripper's confirmed he's not. Nick Austin has confirmed he's not. The club has been very upfront about that. And also Sam Walsh said he'd pay less. But what makes me disgusted a little bit is that you're allowed to then write that. Because for me, if I was Cripps, I would read that. And that would probably affect my mental health because I hate being called a liar. So I would think, I've promised my fans I've taken less. And that was quite a nice thing. I remember feeling really uplifted when he said that. Thinking, if people take this as scripture, though, they'll then say, he's a liar. And I don't like that. I think that's a great. That's why I'd love them to release that. And I think it'd be a very quick fix to a lot of this speculation.
I'm with you. 100%. And the speculation does no good for anyone, especially when you get people on there who will say things like, well, they know that, like, you know, like Rendell and Sauce and all that. They know they've been list managers before, yet they still be deliberately provocative, deliberately talking shit. That's my issue. You know what you're saying is wrong, yet you're still there saying it. Grow up, you know, like it's just, but at the end of the day, if they're getting the listens and they're getting the likes, then good luck to them. Like they're providing a service that I guess some people are into, but they need. Bugs Belly just 100% spot on here. It's the most unprofessional professional sport in the world, all the way down from trade radio to the clubs to the fixture to everything. It is ridiculous.
Mate, I agree. And thank you, Lockie, for agreeing with me. We'll come on to the questions. This should be interesting. I'm sure you've got a question for Fazz.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella shit.
I suppose technically we are in the media, but I hope when you watch me, Michael, though, I'm not like the media. I try and look at everything very objectively. I try not to. I'm passionate. I wouldn't go as far as throwing a club legend under the bus, though, like my boy Fazz here.
Oh, look, mate. If those of you who know me, I just call a spade a spade. I could give two shits, to be honest. And at the end of the day, whether you're the media or whatever, like we're just doing this. This isn't my job. I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking like this stuff. It's a bit of fun, bit of banter. But at the end of the day, if I genuinely believe something, I don't sit on the fence. There's no splinters in my ass. All right, I get on a side and I tell you the way it is. And people disagree and people have an issue with that, but fine, good luck.
Now,
but
I mean, I will say this about Sauce. My issue with Sauce, right, isn't him being a list manager at all. I think he took a very tough job on, and some hit, some failed. And I think I'd love to know what happened in 2018 because his wording doesn't reflect what he did. I think my biggest issue with Sauce is I'm not judging the man. I'm judging his work in the media. I just find it very peculiar for me. And I'm not casting any aspersions on his character before. I know Gav's waiting. Incredible legend. Total respect from me as
superstar player.
As a player. My question marks are, he was always very vocal about the job he's doing now. So my issue is I think the way he words things, for me, exactly like Lockie says, I detect salt. And I don't know why he does it. Because maybe it's, you've got to separate the legend from the media pundit, but a lot of my legends growing up, Ali McCoist, players like that for Rangers, are in the media now. And you know what? Rangers could go out and spend 150 million on an Azerbaijan striker who's played 2 games in 10 years with an ACL. And when the media are slating Rangers, even though we stabbed him in the back and got rid of him as our coach, he would still stand there and go, fucking best player I've ever seen from Azerbaijan. Shrewd pickup from the Rangers. So for me, I may be looking at it that way. I've got no issues with him. I'd have a beer with Sauce.
Hey.
And the first question I'd ask is this. Fuck went down in 2018, my kid.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Look, personally, is what it is. And look, I just think he's just been a piss take. That's all. And good luck to him.
Do you know what I mean? Well, we've got some other great questions here.
Give me some questions, guys. Let's go.
Right. Old Aussie, good day to you, mate. Big friend of the channel. If we have cap in the good place, could we look at one of the salary cap dumbs people are talking about and grab a cub pick? Looks like, as I predicted, Geelong are all over this Bose deal because I think Jai Clark and Bose is fat town, as we say back home. But I reckon we may do some little dodginess.
Yeah, look, I like the Bose to Geelong deal. What I loved, I heard today about the whole why did he pick Geelong, and it was around about Geelong were into him before the pick 7 became a thing. And for a person, you'd be like, you're just feeling like a stake in the deli, people walking past looking at you, like that's what he'd be feeling like. No one wanted him until the pick 7 came in, and now everyone wants him. But apparently Geelong, as per usual, were 3 steps ahead of everybody else. We're into him before the pick 7 became a thing. So naturally, he's going to choose the team that cares about him, not the pick.
Mate, I agree with you. And I think it's a good deal for all parties because I think Bose does play. A lot of people saying Bose isn't best 22. I think I think he does. I think
plays.
he does.
Yeah,
I think he's great backup, and I like it. So great
Zach
question,
Tui replacement like that,
mate. Great, great question, old Aussie mate. Great. To answer your question, I don't think there's any opportunities left for Carlton though. I think Austin would love to get into it, but Jai Clark's too much of an appeal. What are our thoughts on the three-way trade being proposed for Jason Horne-Francis? Eagles, Rioli, pick 2 for pick 8, future first. Feel like unders. Surely we should get another pick. It's a weird one because I did see it because from memory, it was you sent your pick. So from memory, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but from memory, you sent pick 8 to them, which is Port's pick, and Eagles got involved by sending Rioli. Yeah, it was like real messy, and it worked out to be from memory 2 first. It kind of worked out as.
Yeah. Look,
it's a weird
three-way trades. I don't know. It gets a bit messy for me. I
mean, I think that what you'll probably be looking at, I think the fair deal for them is they're going to be offering pick 8. I mean, I would say, in my opinion, and I know this sounds harsh, I've been saying this quite a lot, right? Quite a lot about Jason Horne-Francis last year. I didn't like him. I didn't like him. I don't think he's the levels of someone like Nick Dacos. I don't think he's as damaging. I see a man who's a little bit like Elliot Yeo in the terms of he's going to win the ball, he's going to get it out. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to change games. So I would say if I was Port, I would probably be looking at this year's first, next year's first, and I'd probably want a future second back, or I'd pay pick 9, 8, Butters, maybe Butters or Dursma, whichever you wanted, and maybe want a future third back. I think he's grossly overrated by the AFL media.
Well, I think with Horne-Francis, and what a surprise, a player is overrated by the media. He's certainly shown his hand. He's laid his cards out on the table as far as I'm concerned. He was happy to lap it up, begs to be the number 1 draft pick. You heard David Noble said he wanted to be the number 1 draft pick. He lapped it up. He wanted all the fame. The minute it gets too hard, he packs up and leaves. I keep hearing the term, he's a winner. He demands this. Mate, winners don't pack up and leave. Cowards pack up and leave. And unfortunately, he's a bit of a coward. He's packing up and leaving because it's too tough. What's going to happen when Port Adelaide, if it gets too tough there? He's going to pack up and leave again? I wouldn't trust him. I couldn't trust him. I know he's a kid, but at the end of the day, maybe it's just another feather in the cap of Sam Walsh and Patrick Cripps and these likes. Because if Horne-Francis packs up, throws the toys out of the cot, then Walsh had every right to do that after 2018, 2019.
Right, spot on. I mean, there is the argument, obviously, that he's an interstater, which I did laugh that he preferenced Port Adelaide. There's only 2 clubs in Adelaide, and I mean, Adelaide's not that big. I do remember at the time, though, saying that if I was North Melbourne there, I know that they were very humbled and they wanted Jason Horne-Francis to have that honour of the pick 1. I'm just not a big... I didn't like the pick, and I think that they should have moved down. I personally think moving down a little bit. But, I mean, that's it. We've got another great question here from David Redbear, good friend of the channel. Good day to you, my friend. How much influence do you think Cookie has on direction and
I will tell you
retention?
The influence across the board, all right, across the board, not just player retention, everything is immeasurable. I'll mark my words. Brian Cook is the best thing to walk into our football club, almost ever. He is an insane human being. You talk to anyone who's been at Geelong, anyone ever. He is actually one of the greatest people. Man managers, knows what he wants, doesn't get caught up in hustle and bustle. The only disappointing thing for us is we've only got him for 2 more years. We need to, as a club, make the most of this man over the next 2 years because he is phenomenal. So to answer your question, immeasurable. You can't put an amount on how influential he's been.
Mate, couldn't agree more. I think, his administrative knowledge, I think the fact that you're starting to see massive changes, not just in the media, but the engagement towards fans. I think you're starting to see one of the things I really enjoy, and it's something that a good mate of mine's a massive Geelong fan, and it's something that's pissed me off. And I'm sure some of you guys in the chat will agree with me. We always get the same people at Carlton in the media. It's always the same players. And my mate is a Geelong fan. They hear from every player, like first-year player, rookie, Dave from the street. I really enjoy this year that we have had Mackay go on these footy shows. We have given Charlie Kerner the responsibility to do a press conference. Yeah. It felt like at some points in the week, it was a different guy every week, which is why I was so against dual captains. I'm like, Cripps doesn't need a mate to be a captain. He needs the players to step up and take some responsibility and go, it's all right, Cripper. I'll do this interview today for you, bruv. You go and have a rest. You have a cup of tea and a lie down. So for me, 100%. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, he's enormous. I cannot express enough. Him walking into our football club is better than anything.
And one more from Lana. What happened with Bruce? Any news? I believe he's staying and he's got a contract right on the table. So it looks like Gunston is the one that is going to leave from there and go to Brisbane. As for Bruce, it looks like Bruce will still be in the brown and yellow or gold.
Unfortunate for him.
And Charlie Berridge, you can check out Carlton people. But short story is, father-in-law a Pom to marry in the family. I had to be one of you. So best decision I made. Best decision I made. I get to meet all you lovely guys and girls. But big shout out to everyone in chat. Much love as always. That is all we got time for. Seeing all the regulars in here. Record as well. We peaked at 110. We stayed at 100. So thank you very much, everyone.
Beautiful.
We'll be back next week for some more wrap-up. And until next time, from me and Fazz, stay safe.
See you later. Have a good one.
Don't get caught. Much love. Come out.